Raise your hand if you've ever felt so overwhelmed after scrolling for hours and hours because you can't handle all of the negative news that's on your phone. Raise your hand if you've ever had a conversation with your friends about politics or all of these big topics and you just feel yourself fuming. You just let it build up and build up and build up. Raise your hand if you've ever been the person that is scrolling or watching something and something just triggers you like that and you start going on a doom spiral. I regret doing this. I can't believe the world is like this. This is so bad, 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 bad. Why do you think that the news, something that, for example, my family grew up watching, why do you think that the news is something that's so accessible for everyone to watch? It's because the news only reports the negative things. Now, here's the question. Give me a news channel that actually tells you positive things that go on in the world. Because I can think of a few Instagram accounts, social media accounts, where the specific person is trying to say all the amazing things that are going right because those people have realized that there's so much energy draining and consumption that happens with negative news that they're like, you know what? I better change the script because that person themselves, I know that that person even felt like this. If you're constantly drained, you have headaches, you start thinking in spirals, you start thinking about how bad the world is. There's a saying that goes something like this. If you want to be up in your head, filled with anxiety, filled with depression, just literally living up in your head, scroll, watch the news. Watch other people live their lives. If you want to live a happy, fulfilled, great life, travel. Go outside, see the world, have conversations, meet people. All of those things create so many positive assumptions about the world. And just like we know, our brains are filled with all these different neural pathways that the more that you walk on them, the more that you rehearse feeling those same beliefs over and over again, the bigger that they become. Yes? So if you in your mind one day come across something that's negative on the news, I really don't like how they treat children like this or the situation that's going on like this. All right, your brain makes that a neural path connection. Kids are unsafe. All right, and then let's say the next day, the next hour, the next minute, you watch something else that affirms that belief and you walk that path again. And every single day, then your feedback is telling you, the algorithm that you're training because of what you're watching is now feeding you the exact same thing. So it's affirming it over and over and over in your mind, back and forth and back and forth. What ends up happening to that path? Literally, if you think about a path that you walk on for a long time, what happens? In the beginning, it's just grass. It doesn't affect it. Walk once, walk twice, the grass won't be affected. But the more that you walk over that grass, the more that you're making a path. Exactly the same if you've ever been hiking, if you've ever gone to the mountains. There are certain trails because people have walked on that path over and over and over again. It didn't happen overnight. It didn't happen where someone just chose to make that path. No, a path only comes to be because someone walks it back and forth so many times that it literally engraves itself in the earth. Literally, that's how it works. So think about the neural pathways in your brain and the things that you're feeding it, right? The things that you're feeding it and how you're buying into those beliefs. Now, I'm not saying that these things are not true or true. Things happen in the world, right? But the more that you focus on certain things, you can actually decide in your life if you're enhancing the better things that are happening or the worse. If you don't know this, everything is created from our minds. Before anything comes into existence, it starts in your mind, then it gets translated into your words, then it gets translated into your actions. See, a lot of people get this backwards and think that it's the other way around. They think that it starts with action that leads to a thought in your head. They say, well, this bad thing happened in that country, in that war, in that, and then they think, oh, that must mean that, oh, yep, that was right. What I was thinking was right about it. So you're affirming yourself. But that's the thing, everything starts in the mind. Why do you think that there are books that exist? The most famous of books, like Think and Grow Rich. Think and Grow Rich is literally talking about how your thoughts create your reality. This, yes, people call this manifestation. People call this spirituality. People call this religion, call this faith. At the end of the day, you can call it whatever you want to call it. But it's this nature, this natural law that's just written into stone that says anything that you believe, you will see. Anything that you focus on, you will create more of. There's a reason why Mother Teresa, when she was asked, "Hi, Mother Teresa, can you please support our campaign? We're having an anti-war campaign. This is a good thing. We don't want war. We're having a protest to say anti-war, anti-war, anti-war." What did Mother Teresa do? She turned to them and said, "You invite me the day that you are hosting a pro-peace war." Why did she do this? Why does the wording matter so much? Because you might be saying, this is just positive and negative. It's the same thing. An anti-war rally is the exact same as a pro-peace rally. No, because the universe speaks in terms of truth. And what does not exist? Limitation. We are the ones that say words like never, can't, not possible. Those words exist because we have chosen that they exist, not because it was innately given to us like that. So in this case, she's saying, invite me to a pro-peace rally. That's when I'll show up. That's when I'll say, yes, let's support this. Because she knows that if we're amplifying peace, that's going to create something bigger. That's going to create bigger peace. If you're going to an anti-war rally, you might be saying, I'm doing something good. I'm standing up for all the countries that are at war right now. But the truth is, you're just actually emphasizing and giving more of your energy to that. So it's actually funny, not funny, but in terms of how it ends up being twisted, you think that you're doing the right thing, right? But you end up supporting something that's the exact opposite of what you want just because of the wording, just because of what you focus on. Anything that you want to create more of, focus on. This was something that I also read in the book. I think it's called The Art of Getting Rich. Something Getting Rich. I can't remember the word. I'll put the book if I remember. Yes, but this book by Wallace something. Oh my goodness, I need to put it on the screen, please. This book at one point talks about how you need to be very careful when you're donating money, okay? Donating money or working in soup kitchens or giving back. All of these things are beautiful, amazing things that everyone should be doing, right? I'm not here to say, oh yeah, just like stop doing all of those things. But I found such a testament and good point to what the author was trying to say. He was saying, rather than focus on what these people lack, do the opposite and provide something that will enhance them. Provide knowledge. Not only provide your company and giving food, obviously all of those things are amazing. But if you genuinely want to change a situation, you have to give people tools. You can't just give them like a handout and expect something to change. Do you know what I mean? It's like giving a first grader a 300-page book and saying, read it. Like, you can give the book, they can appreciate the book. Maybe they'll really enjoy reading some of the pages. But it's not the same as sitting down with that person, reading them the story, reading that child that story, actually making them understand it from a different point of view. So all of these things matter so, so much when it comes to negativity, the news. Anytime, remember this, every single time that you engage in negative content, in negative things, in negative news, you are literally being susceptible to exactly what people want you to do. They want you to feel less empowered. They want you to feel like it's not up to you. We're the ones that we're in charge. We're going to control how the situation goes. It's not true. It robs you of your power. It robs you of your potential. And it robs you of realizing that the world is so big. We live so limited. Our mindsets have become so limited. And it's simply just because of what other people and what the world tells us around us that is possible. The more that you show positivity and beneficial things, things that you can actually learn from, things that you can actually grow in, those things will actually make you stronger. Those things will actually make a positive and good impact on you. So if you're just over the scrolling and all of these things, I know what I used to say, because I used to be all up in there. Believe me, I was. And I would get frustrated and mad and all of these emotions that are literally just penting up all of these emotions that could be used to create change, you know? And I'm not talking create change by going about and, you know, doing what everyone else does. I mean, creating change by creating art, by creating music, by creating something that people actually hold, something that reminds them of something, something that brings them joy, something that helps other people. All of the energy and anger that you possess when you watch all of these things over and over again is energy that you're handing over to the wind. And guess what? That energy is literally just leaving you angry and resentful. I literally used to be that person. I would get so angry because yes, things going on in the world make us angry. We're saying, how do injustices happen? How can people be living like this? We don't understand it. But the more that you realize that when you come from a vibrational level up here and you help people raise to that standard, to that way of life, everyone's life becomes better. And that's what I was saying. I would get so enraged. And my point was always, well, okay, I can't handle the fact that I need to know what's going on in the news. I can't be badly informed. All of these questions came up around why I needed to proceed in the way that I was acting. Because it was comfortable, honestly. And after a while, it becomes a habit. It becomes a habit to be enraged. It becomes a habit to be in a bad mood because of something external. Remember, anything that comes into your realm is something that you're choosing to bring in. So rather than saying, oh, like it just fell on my lap. Nope. You choose. Everything that you watch, you choose. Everything that you listen to, you choose. Every person that's in your life, you choose. At some point, you need to take responsibility for the fact that life is choices. It's not just the victimhood of feeling like you have no choices. It really is. Life is full of choices every day you make them. And the thing is, you don't realize some of the decisions that you make because, again, you've been convinced that you're not powerful. You've been convinced that your opinion doesn't matter. What can one voice do? Nothing. It's not true. You are limitless. You really, really are. You are so powerful and abundant, literally just as you are. And you have been pushed and shoved down so that you stop realizing what your potential and truth is within. I used to always say, I can't give up all my news channels. I can't give up the articles because I don't want to be that person that's poorly informed. I don't want to be the person that doesn't know what's going on in the world. And here's what I will tell you. From being a person now that has completely stepped back from the negative news and all of that, I can tell you, if something is happening in the world, you will know. You will know. It doesn't matter if you don't have social media. It doesn't matter if it literally doesn't matter. News travels fast. And there's always going to be people that are very watching the news and everything they consume and everything they take in. There's always going to be those people. My suggestion to you is you're going to listen about things that are happening and you might say, whoa, I need to learn about this. In that case, go do some of your own research. But don't let yourself be in the scrolling doom of just catching anything that comes at you. Intentionally choose to look at the things that you're watching. Again, just like I was saying, are you going to be watching reality TV shows and just consistently consuming that kind of energy? Or are you consciously going to choose what you watch? Either way you are choosing, the only difference is, are you consciously choosing? Are you choosing and then feeling good because you realize that it was a decision that you yourself made? Every choice, again, is a decision that you have made. So if that's what you're scared about, if you're saying, I can't give this up because I can't be the person that's poorly informed, trust me that you will hear about things. You will hear about things because the world is so big and the world is constantly spinning and people are constantly talking, and we have more communication now than ever before in the kindness of humanity. You will know if things are happening. And what I'm saying is do your own research then after that point, you know? But again, stop being a victim of just scrolling and feeding into that negativity so subconsciously. You're doing that and you don't see how that's affecting you so negatively. You showing up and being mean to your coworkers, you showing up and giving your students 3 times as much work, you showing up to dinner with your family and being upset and just mad. Those things affect everything. One choice is a ripple effect that affects everything else. If I'm in a poor mood because I have been doom scrolling all day, looking at all the negative news that there is to see today, I'm gonna go out and I'm gonna feel bad. And I'm going to portray that bad feeling onto other people by all of the things that I just mentioned. I'm gonna show up and I'm not gonna be really in it when I'm talking to my best friends. And they're gonna say, you know what? I don't really like that. I don't like how I showed up for my friend today and she was just not in it. And then she's gonna tell her husband that. She's gonna say, you know what, I'm just upset because my friend and I haven't seen each other in so many months and she just came and she was in such a crappy mood. And all of a sudden she's complaining about that to her husband. And then the husband thinks, okay, well, I have my golf tournament this weekend, but now I'm kind of in a bad mood because I don't know what happened, what shifted my mood. And then he goes to the golf tournament and then he's rude to one of the waiters. And then that waiter says, what did I do to this person? I literally haven't done anything. And then that person goes home and disciplines their child in a really nasty way and says, no, you know what? I'm the father. I'm going to tell you what to do. And he takes a control in a negative and angry way towards his child. And then that child ends up going to class and ends up hitting one of the other kids. And then we question, why is that kid hitting that kid? He's normally pretty calm. He doesn't use that. Those aren't his usual emotions. Do you see the cycle that happens? And you might be saying, no, well, it's not deep. It's not that deep. Yeah. It is that deep because every choice that you make ripples. And it can be a positive ripple or it can be a negative ripple. And again, you guys know I don't live by this black and white. I live somewhere in the gray. Everything is somewhere in the gray, you know? Where there's something good, there's something bad. Where there's something bad, there's something good. It's not just about good or bad, but it is about raising your vibrational state. Raising your vibrational state and just being as calm as you can, as happy, as joyful, as authentic. Just simply being you in your best sense. And whenever I say that, I remember what I always say. It's always going back to who you were as a little child. Who were you as a little kid? When there was no fear, when you didn't care, when the world just didn't matter around you, didn't even see the world around you. You just acted as though you wanted. That's who you really are within. I hope today's video gave you just some new ideas, something to think about, something. Just challenge your brain. Just challenge your brain. If right now you're thinking, no, there's no way I can give all this up. There's no way I could do all of this. Okay, that's fine. But at least you watched this video. At least you have the awareness and the consciousness of wanting to change something. People don't even do that. So I applaud you. I applaud you for actually watching this whole video and listening to yourself too, because I know that right now there's a part of you within that's calling and it's saying, oh my goodness, you really have to think about this, or wow, I never considered that. Take all of these things as helpful tools. Take what works with you, take what resonates. That is what I'm here to do. With that being said, this is Mindset by Natalia. Thank you for watching today's video, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!